People like you don't belong here with fake checks. Chelsea Morgan's manicured nails grabbed the $50,000 check. Without hesitation, she tore it straight down the middle. Then again, and again. The shredded pieces scattered across the counter. Dr. Evelyn Carter watched her consultation fee from Chicago Children's Hospital flutter to the floor. She sat motionless in her navy cardigan, calm. "Security!" Chelsea's voice echoed through the lobby. "We have a fraud situation." Every head turned. Phones lifted. A young woman hit Go Live on TikTok. The viewer counter started spinning. Evelyn's wallet sat open. The edge of a platinum card peeked out, but Chelsea's eyes were fixed on assumptions. "May I speak to your manager?" Evelyn's voice was surgeon steady. Chelsea smirked. "Honey, I am management." "Have you ever been judged where you belonged more than anyone, K? 2:47 p.m. 13 minutes until the 3 p.m. board meeting upstairs. Security to the main floor, possible fraud in progress." Chelsea's voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. She stabbed the intercom button like she was crushing an insect. Her perfectly sculpted eyebrows arched with theatrical authority as she turned back to Evelyn. The TikTok live stream exploded. Comments flooded in faster than anyone could read them. "Call the police! This is 2024. Recording everything." Lady seems chill, though. Zoe Martinez, 19 and live streaming what she thought would be boring bank errands, watched her viewer count surge past 1,100. Her hands trembled as she held the phone steady, trying to capture every angle of the unfolding drama. "Y'all seeing this discrimination?" she whispered into her phone. The chat erupted with fire emojis and angry face reactions. Brad Stevens emerged from the back office like a battleship cutting through calm waters. All 6'2" of him radiated management authority. His Navy Hugo Boss suit cost more than most people made in a month. He surveyed the scene with the practiced eye of someone used to dealing with problems. "Ma'am?" His tone was the verbal equivalent of a pat on the head, dripping with condescension that made nearby customers wince. "This establishment serves legitimate customers only. I'm going to need you to understand that." Evelyn remained perfectly seated, her posture straight but relaxed. Her medical badge was clipped inside her jacket, invisible but present. The platinum American Express card edge still peeked from her leather wallet. Her iPhone buzzed against the marble counter. Board meeting reminder. 13 minutes. She glanced at the notification, then back at Brad with the kind of calm that comes from years of handling life and death situations. "I understand your concern," she said quietly, her voice carrying the measured cadence of someone accustomed to being listened to. "The check is from Chicago Children's Hospital for pediatric consultation services. Perhaps we could verify the amount with their accounting department." "These people always have explanations," Chelsea interrupted, her voice pitched loud enough for the growing crowd of onlookers. Her tone carried that particular brand of confidence that comes from never being challenged, never being wrong, never being held accountable. She rolled her eyes dramatically for the audience. "Elaborate stories, fake documents, the whole performance." Brad positioned himself strategically between Evelyn and the main exit. Not threatening exactly, but the message was clear. His arms crossed over his chest as he nodded along with Chelsea's performance. "Ma'am, suspicious amounts like this require additional verification procedures. It's standard bank protocol for certain situations." The pause before certain situations hung in the air like smoke. 2:48 p.m., 12 minutes remaining. The live stream chat was exploding with reactions. "50K check? That's sus, though. Bank lady being extra AF. Why is the customer so calm? Something's up. This is straight-up racial profiling. Security cameras getting all this." Other customers began choosing sides with the invisible certainty of a middle school cafeteria. An elderly white woman in expensive pearls shook her head disapprovingly, her voice carrying across the lobby. "Just call the authorities already. We don't have all day for this nonsense." But a young Latino man holding his 5-year-old daughter's hand whispered urgently, "This isn't right, mija. Remember this moment." A well-dressed black woman near the ATMs pulled out her phone, not for social media, but to record potential evidence. Her expression was grim with recognition. 2:49 p.m., 11 minutes until the meeting. Chelsea's performance reached new heights. Should I call the FBI fraud division? She's probably high on something. Look at how calm she is. That's not normal behavior for someone being accused of a felony. She examined her professionally manicured nails like she was discussing weekend plans instead of destroying someone's reputation in real time. Security guard Marcus Williams approached with visible reluctance. 45 years old, 20 years on the job, black, and deeply uncomfortable with the entire situation. His radio crackled with standard protocols, but his eyes reflected the moral complexity of his position. He'd seen this movie before. He knew how it usually ended. Evelyn's phone buzzed again, more insistently. The caller ID read, "Son, CEO Office Direct Line." She glanced at the screen, then at the countdown timer on her phone's lock screen, then declined the call with surgical precision. The small action didn't go unnoticed by the growing crowd. "I'd like to see your regional branch manager, please," she repeated, her voice carrying the kind of unshakable calm that neurosurgeons use when everything is going catastrophically wrong, but showing panic would kill the patient. Brad's chest puffed with wounded authority. "I am the branch manager, lady. I've been running this location for 8 years. There's nobody higher up than me on this floor." The word lady hit the air with condescending finality, dismissive, reductive, designed to put someone in their place. But Evelyn didn't move. 2:50 p.m. 10 minutes until her son expected her upstairs assistant manager, Karen Price, materialized from the back offices like reinforcements arriving at a battlefield. Her clipboard was clutched against her chest like armor, and her expression carried the self-righteous certainty of middle management defending corporate policy. "What's the situation here?" she demanded, though her tone suggested she'd already made up her mind. "Attempted fraud," Chelsea announced with prosecutorial authority. "Fake check, probably stolen identity, definitely suspicious behavior. Look how calm she's acting. Guilty people always act calm." Evelyn's first-class United Airlines boarding pass from her last medical conference at Johns Hopkins was clearly visible in her open wallet. Her leather-bound appointment book lay open on the marble counter, gold pen marking today's entry. Board meeting, 3:00 p.m., 47th floor, conference room A. But nobody was looking at the details that mattered. They were looking at her skin and drawing their own conclusions. 2:53 p.m., 7 minutes remaining. The lobby had transformed into a digital coliseum. 23 customers now formed a loose semicircle around the marble counter, phones raised like weapons documenting every word. The bank's soaring acoustics amplified whispers into a chorus of judgment. Zoe's livestream exploded past 8,000 viewers. Comments flew by in a waterfall of reactions. "This lady too calm. She knows something." Hashtag banking while black going viral. Plot twist coming. Watch. Karen employee needs to be fired. Call Channel 7 News now. Screenshots were already circulating on Twitter. Local blogger Marcus Brooks rushed through the revolving doors, camera equipment jangling. The story was metastasizing beyond the marble walls. Karen Price clutched her clipboard like a shield, her voice rising with authority. "Ma'am, we're prepared to ban you from all 847 Illinois branches of First National if necessary. This behavior is unacceptable." Chelsea's confidence soared with each reinforcement. "I've handled situations like this before," she announced to her growing audience. "Food stamps, welfare fraud, identity theft. They always have the same calm demeanor when they're caught." Her gestures became theatrical, hands moving as if conducting an orchestra of discrimination. 2:54 p.m., 6 minutes until board meeting. The crowd dynamics shifted like storm clouds. Battle lines were drawn without words. The elderly woman in Cartier pearls found her voice. This is ridiculous. Some of us have legitimate business to conduct. Her tone suggested Evelyn was the problem, not the treatment. But the young Latino father stepped protectively closer to his 5-year-old daughter. "Mija, watch carefully," he whispered. "This is why we fight for justice. Remember this moment." A middle-aged black woman near the ATM pulled out her phone, not for social media, but as evidence. Her expression carried the grim recognition of someone who'd lived this scenario before. 2 college students by the window live-streamed on Instagram. A businessman in the loan officer line shook his head in disgust, but whether at Evelyn or the bank remained unclear. 2:55 p.m., 5 minutes until the meeting. Brad Stevens puffed his chest, feeding off the crowd's energy. "Pattern recognition is part of our anti-fraud training. Certain demographics attempt these schemes frequently." He paused, letting the implication hang like poison in the air. "We protect legitimate customers from financial predators." The word predators echoed off marble walls. Assistant Manager Karen Price nodded sagely, her clipboard now a weapon of bureaucratic authority. "I'm calling corporate security. This has escalated beyond branch protocol." She reached for the red phone reserved for emergencies. Evelyn's iPhone buzzed insistently. The screen lit up. "Son, CEO office, urgent." She glanced at it, then at the timestamp, then declined again with surgical precision. The small action sent ripples through the watching crowd. 2:56 p.m., 4 minutes remaining. Marcus Williams, the security guard, approached with visible reluctance. 20 years of service, countless situations like this, and the moral weight was crushing him. His radio crackled with backup requests he hadn't made. "Ma'am," he said quietly, his voice barely audible above the crowd noise. "I'm going to need you to come with me to the security office." It wasn't a request. Evelyn looked up at him, and for just a moment, something passed between them. Recognition, understanding, the complexity of being black in America on different sides of an impossible situation. "I understand your position," she said softly, for his ears only. "You're following orders." Marcus's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. 2:57 p.m. 3 minutes until her son expects her upstairs. Chelsea sensed victory approaching. "Should we call Chicago PD? I have contacts in the fraud division." Her voice carried across the lobby like a town crier announcing an execution. "Fake checks over $10,000 are federal crimes, FBI jurisdiction." The live stream count hit 12,000. Zoe's hands shook as she tried to keep the phone steady. This was the biggest moment of her 19-year-old life, and she knew it. Local news vans were pulling up outside. Channel 7, Channel 5, Fox 32. Someone had leaked the live stream link. Brad gestured broadly to his audience. "This is why we have protocols. This is why we verify. This is why we protect our community from—" He stopped mid-sentence, catching himself before saying something that would end his career. But everyone knew what word hung unspoken. Peak humiliation moment, 2:58 p.m., 2 minutes remaining. "Ma'am, you need to understand your place in this situation," Chelsea declared with the finality of a judge delivering a sentence. Her voice reached every corner of the marble lobby. Then she made her fatal mistake. She reached across the counter and grabbed Evelyn's purse, dumping the contents across the marble surface with theatrical flourish. "Let's see what else is fake." Items scattered like confetti: lip balm, car keys, breath mints, reading glasses, but also things Chelsea hadn't expected. A medical journal fell open. Dr. E. Carter, lead author, Pediatric Cardiac Surgery Innovation. Hospital ID badges from 3 major Chicago institutions. Business cards reading Dr. Evelyn M. Carter, Chief of Pediatric Surgery. And a leather appointment book that fell open to today's page. 3:00 p.m. Board of Directors meeting, 47th floor, conference room A. Chelsea's hands froze mid-gesture. The crowd pressed closer, reading over each other's shoulders. Zoe zoomed her camera in on the scattered items, her live stream audience erupting in real time. Doctor? She's a doctor? Board meeting. Upstairs. Oh no. Plot twist incoming. 3, 2, 1. Chelsea about to lose her job. 2:59 p.m. 1 minute until board meeting. The lobby fell into an eerie quiet. Even the HVAC system seemed to hold its breath. Evelyn looked at her scattered belongings, then at the crowd, then at the security cameras blinking red in the corners. She reached for her phone with movements as precise as surgical instruments. Her finger hovered over a contact labeled simply, Sun, CEO office. The live stream audience was going insane. 15,000 viewers and climbing. 3 o'clock p.m. Board meeting time. I believe, Evelyn said, her voice cutting through the silence like a scalpel. It's time to call my son. The elevator chimed softly in the distance. Footsteps echoed across marble. Multiple footsteps. Expensive shoes. The kind that belonged in boardrooms and corner offices. Chelsea's face began draining of color as the pieces clicked together in her mind. The footsteps were getting closer. 3:01 p.m. Evelyn pressed the speed dial. Extension 4001. CEO Direct Line. The phone rang once. Hello, Marcus. Her voice carried the calm authority of someone who'd spent 30 years making life-or-death decisions. I'm downstairs in the main lobby. 23 pairs of eyes locked on her face. Zoe's live stream audience hit 18,000 viewers, comments exploding faster than human comprehension. There seems to be a misunderstanding about my identity, Evelyn continued, her surgical precision cutting through the marble-walled silence. Could you come down? And Marcus, bring legal. The line went quiet. Then, on my way, mother. The word mother hung in the air like a bomb waiting to detonate. Chelsea's smartphone slipped from her trembling fingers, clattering against the marble floor. The sound echoed like a gunshot through the suddenly silent lobby. The freeze Brad Stevens's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again like a fish gasping for air. His Hugo Boss suit suddenly felt several sizes too small. The color drained from his face as if someone had pulled a plug. Mother, he whispered, the word barely escaping his lips. Karen Price's clipboard fell from nerveless fingers. Papers scattered across the floor, employment policies and fraud procedures suddenly meaningless. Her eyes darted between Evelyn and the elevator bank like she was watching a tennis match in slow motion. The crowd pressed closer, sensing the seismic shift about to occur. Phones raised higher. The live stream chat became incomprehensible. She said mother. CEO's mom? Chelsea is so fired. Plot twist of the century. Recording everything for court. 3:02 p.m. The doors open. The executive elevator chimed with the soft sophistication of imported Swiss engineering. The brushed steel doors slid apart like curtains revealing the final act. Marcus Carter III stepped into the lobby. I am 32 years old, 6'1", Armani suit that cost more than Chelsea made in 3 months, Harvard MBA, Rhodes Scholar, CEO of First National Bank Illinois, the youngest in the company's 127-year history. Behind him emerged a small army of corporate power. Head of legal David Kim in his $1,000 suit, communications director Sarah Walsh clutching an iPad, regional vice president Janet Torres, and 3 assistants whose job descriptions included crisis management. The lobby transformed from small-town drama to corporate battlefield in seconds. Mr. Carter! Brad Stevens's voice cracked like a 13-year-old's. He rushed forward, hand extended, and smiled desperately. I didn't know you were... We weren't expecting... Marcus III's eyes swept the scene with the analytical precision he'd inherited from his mother. Scattered purse contents on marble. Torn check pieces. 23 witnesses with phones. One terrified teller backed toward the wall. His gaze found his mother, seated with the same calm dignity she'd maintained through medical school, residency, and 30 years of surgical practice. "Mother," he said quietly, "I'm profoundly sorry. What happened here?" The recognition moment. The crowd collectively inhaled. Even the HVAC system seemed to pause. Zoe's live stream hit 25,000 viewers. Screenshots were already trending on Twitter with #Bank CEO Mom. TikTok's algorithm was pushing the video to millions. Local blogger Marcus Brooks frantically typed on his laptop, "Breaking, bank CEO's mother racially profiled at own institution." Chelsea Morgan stood frozen against the back wall, her perfectly manicured nails now digging crescents into her palms. The theatrical confidence had evaporated, leaving behind a 28-year-old woman who suddenly understood that her career was over. She never said... Chelsea's voice was barely a whisper. "She shouldn't have to," Marcus III replied, his tone carrying the quiet authority that had earned him the CEO position at 30. "This is Dr. Evelyn Carter, Chief of Pediatric Surgery at Chicago Children's Hospital, board member of this institution since 2019. He paused, letting the weight settle. "And the largest individual shareholder of First National Bank, Illinois." The Power Reveal legal director David Kim stepped forward, tablet in hand. "Dr. Carter currently owns 847,000 shares of company stock, valued at approximately $23.4 million as of market close yesterday." The numbers hit like physical blows. Her annual consultation income exceeds $340,000. She serves on the boards of 3 major Chicago medical institutions. Her real estate investments are valued at $12.8 million. Each fact was a nail in the coffin of assumptions. Communications Director Sarah Walsh was already crafting damage control strategies, fingers flying across her iPad screen. The story was spreading beyond social media into mainstream news channels. "Channel 7 is requesting comment," she whispered to Marcus III. "Fox 32 has crews en route. Tribune wants an exclusive." The crowd's realization. The elderly woman in Cartier pearls suddenly found her shoes fascinating. The businessman who'd shaken his head earlier was backing slowly toward the exit. But the young Latino father stepped forward, his daughter's small hand in his. "Dr. Carter," he said clearly, "I'm sorry this happened to you. Rosa and we witnessed everything." His 5-year-old daughter looked up with wide eyes. "Mommy says you help sick kids. Like me when I had surgery." For the first time all afternoon, Evelyn's composure cracked slightly. She smiled at the little girl. "I do, sweetheart. It's the best job in the world." The moment of human connection cut through the corporate tension like sunlight through storm clouds. Security reversal. Marcus Williams, the security guard, stepped forward and did something unprecedented in his 20-year career. He removed his cap and spoke directly to the CEO. "Sir, I want it on record that Dr. Carter conducted herself with complete dignity throughout this situation. She never raised her voice, never became confrontational, never made my job difficult." His eyes met Evelyn's briefly. She made it harder by being so graceful. Marcus III nodded with respect. "Thank you, Marcus. Your integrity is noted." The final secret. As the corporate team assembled around the scattered scene, Marcus III placed a protective hand on his mother's shoulder. The gesture was small but spoke volumes about the relationship between CEO and board member, son and mother, power and principle. "There's one more thing," he said, addressing the crowd and the live stream audience simultaneously. His voice carried across marble and through fiber optic cables to thousands of viewers. "The acquisition we announced last month? Carter Medical Group purchasing our healthcare lending division for $340 million? He looked at his mother with obvious pride. "Dr. Carter isn't just our largest shareholder. As of next week, she will become our largest business partner. 847 jobs, $89 million in annual payroll, $45 million in community investment over 5 years. The silence was deafening. Chelsea Morgan slid down the wall until she was sitting on the marble floor, her career and her assumptions crumbling simultaneously. The live stream counter hit 30,000 viewers and climbed. 3:15 p.m., Executive Conference Room, 47th floor. The mahogany-paneled boardroom overlooked downtown Chicago like a corporate throne room. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the city skyline, while hidden cameras recorded everything for legal protection. The emergency board meeting had been called with unprecedented speed. Dr. Evelyn Carter sat at the head of the polished table, no longer the woman who'd been humiliated in the lobby 30 minutes ago. Here, she was board member Carter, Chief Medical Officer of Carter Medical Group, and the bank's largest individual investor. Marcus III took his position at the opposite end, flanked by Legal Director David Kim and a team of attorneys whose billable hours could fund small countries. "The evidence is comprehensive," David Kim began, his voice carrying the weight of Harvard law and 15 years of corporate litigation. Security footage from 4 angles. Live stream video with 47,000 viewers and counting. Witness statements from 23 customers. He slid tablets across the mahogany surface to each board member. Audio clearly documents discriminatory language. These people always have explanations. People like you don't belong here. Certain demographics attempt these schemes frequently. Legal Framework senior partner Rachel Morrison from the bank's outside counsel firm joined the video conference, her image sharp on the 85-inch display. "We're facing potential violations of multiple federal statutes," she announced with clinical precision. "Fair Credit Reporting Act violations, Equal Credit Opportunity Act breaches, Civil Rights Act Section 1981 infractions, Illinois Human Rights Act contraventions." The legal avalanche was just beginning. Potential damages in civil court, $50 to $100 million, based on recent precedents. Wells Fargo paid $175 million for similar systematic discrimination. Bank of America settled for $335 million in 2022. Board members shifted uncomfortably in Italian leather chairs. Federal regulatory investigation costs typically run $5 to $8 million. Consent decree monitoring adds another $3 million annually for 5 years. Financial consequences. Chief Financial Officer Patricia Yang opened her presentation with numbers that made executives reach for antacids. Stock price impact modeling suggests 12% to 18% decline upon public disclosure. Based on the current market cap of $4.2 billion, we're looking at potential losses of $504 million to $756 million in shareholder value. The silence was broken only by the soft hum of climate control systems. Brand reputation recovery requires comprehensive campaigns. Conservative estimate, $25 million over 18 months. Premium estimate, if this goes viral nationally, $50 million over 3 years. Patricia's next slide showed social media analytics. Banking. While Black has been tweeted 127,000 times in the past hour, TikTok videos using the hashtag have accumulated 2.3 million views. Instagram posts are approaching 890,000 engagements. The story is trending above celebrity news and sports. The ultimatum. Dr. Carter leaned forward slightly, her hands folded with surgical precision. When she spoke, her voice carried 30 years of life and death authority. "My demands are non-negotiable." She counted on her fingers with the same methodical approach she used when listing surgical requirements. First, immediate termination of Chelsea Morgan and Brad Stevens with cause. No severance packages, no references, permanent notation in their employment records. Legal Director Kim nodded, already drafting termination documents. Second, Karen Price suspended pending full investigation. If complicity is established, termination follows. Third, comprehensive bias training for all 847 Illinois branch employees. 40-hour certification program, not the standard 4-hour online module. Monthly refresher requirements. quarterly assessments tied to performance reviews and salary increases. The scope was unprecedented in banking. Fourth, partnership with the Chicago Urban League for curriculum development and ongoing oversight. $2 million annual funding commitment for 5 years. Fifth, independent diversity audit by a nationally recognized civil rights organization. Results published publicly. Quarterly bias incident reporting with full transparency. Resistance and negotiation. Regional Director Robert Hayes attempted damage control. Dr. Carter, while we deeply regret this isolated incident, perhaps termination is excessive. Suspension, additional training, written reprimands might be more appropriate. Isolated? Dr. Carter's voice carried the sharp edge she reserved for medical students who hadn't studied. Mr. Hayes, this wasn't an accidental bias. This was systematic dehumanization performed for an audience. Marcus III supported his mother with CEO authority. The employees involved chose to escalate rather than de-escalate. They chose humiliation over verification. They chose assumptions over facts. He looked directly at Hayes. Those choices have consequences. Communications Director Sarah Walsh updated the room on media coverage. CNN is picking up the story. The View wants Dr. Carter for an interview. The Congressional Black Caucus is requesting information about our diversity practices. The corporate crisis was metastasizing beyond Chicago. The acquisition card Dr. Carter saved her strongest leverage for last. There's the matter of our pending healthcare lending acquisition. She opened her own tablet, displaying contracts that represented months of negotiation. Carter Medical Group's acquisition of your healthcare lending division. $340 million transaction, scheduled to close next Friday. The room's attention sharpened like focus under a microscope. This acquisition represents 23% of your total annual business. Healthcare lending generated $783 million in revenue last year. Our medical group partnership brings 847 high-paying jobs to Chicago. Annual payroll impact, $89 million. She paused, letting the numbers settle. Community investment over the 5-year contract term, $45 million. Medical equipment financing, $67 million annually. Physician practice loans, $23 million annually. The nuclear option. This incident jeopardizes everything. The words hung in climate-controlled air like a surgical blade poised over an artery. Carter Medical Group has received preliminary interest from Chase, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America for similar partnerships. Each institution has demonstrated superior diversity metrics and community investment records. CFO Patricia Yang's face went ashen. Dr. Carter, the acquisition represents 31% of our projected growth for the next fiscal year. Without it, we miss earnings targets by significant margins. Stock analysts are already pricing in the healthcare sector expansion, added Chief Strategy Officer Michael Brooks. Cancellation would trigger downgrades from Moody's and S&P. Dr. Carter's expression remained surgeon calm. Then we have alignment on the importance of resolving this situation comprehensively. Executive decision process. Marcus III called for an immediate vote. All board members in favor of implementing Dr. Carter's demands in full indicate by raising your hand. 9 hands rose without hesitation. Motion carries unanimously. Legal Director Kim was already on his phone with HR. Effective immediately, Chelsea Morgan and Brad Stevens are terminated with cause. Security is escorting them from the building. Karen Price is suspended pending investigation. Marcus Williams is promoted to branch security chief with immediate salary increase. Settlement terms. Outside counsel Rachel Morrison outlined the civil resolution. We propose a settlement package that includes financial compensation to Dr. Carter, undisclosed amount with confidentiality provisions. Donation to Chicago Urban League, $2 million immediate contribution. National civil rights organizations, $1 million distributed among 5 advocacy groups. Community Investment Fund, $3 million annually for underserved neighborhood banking services. Legal fees and court costs waived in exchange for public accountability measures. Implementation timeline. The corporate machine shifted into crisis management mode with Swiss precision. Technology implementation begins Monday, announced Chief Information Officer Lisa Park. Bias detection software on all customer interaction systems. Real-time monitoring with automatic escalation protocols. Training rollout starts Wednesday across all branches, added HR Director James Rodriguez. NOACP partnership confirmed. Curriculum development begins immediately. Public statement releases at 6 p.m., Sarah Walsh confirmed. Dr. Carter's approval required before publication. Accountability measures. Manager bonuses are now tied to diversity metrics, Patricia Yang announced. Customer satisfaction surveys include bias-related questions. Anonymous reporting system launches within 72 hours. Monthly audits by independent civil rights firms. $10,000 fine structure for verified bias incidents. Community advisory board with rotating membership. The systematic overhaul was comprehensive and swift. Board resolution Marcus III stood, his voice carrying the finality of corporate authority. Dr. Carter, on behalf of First National Bank Illinois, I offer our profound apologies. The treatment you received contradicts every value this institution claims to represent. More importantly, the changes you've demanded will ensure no customer experiences what you endured today. He looked directly into the camera, recording the meeting for legal documentation. Corporate culture change begins with accountability. Today, we choose accountability over reputation management. We choose systemic reform over surface-level apologies. Dr. Carter nodded with the satisfaction of someone who'd just completed a successful surgery. The patient would survive. The disease had been excised. Recovery could begin. 6:15 p.m. Same day. The First National Bank lobby had transformed from a place of humiliation into a stage for corporate accountability. News crews from 5 Chicago stations positioned cameras while reporters delivered breaking updates to evening audiences. This is Channel 7 News with a developing story. First National Bank Illinois has announced sweeping policy changes following a discrimination incident that went viral this afternoon. Security footage played on screens across the city, but now it served a different purpose. Evidence of change rather than evidence of shame. Immediate consequences. Chelsea Morgan cleaned out her desk under the watchful eyes of corporate security. 28 years old, career in banking over, her LinkedIn profile already updated to seeking new opportunities. The termination letter cited conduct unbecoming discriminatory behavior and violation of corporate values. No severance, no references, no second chances. Her exit interview lasted 3 minutes. HR Director James Rodriguez documented everything for potential legal proceedings. Ms. Morgan, your actions today violated federal civil rights laws and corporate policy. This termination is with cause. Brad Stevens faced the same corporate justice. 8 years as branch manager ended with a cardboard box and an escort to the parking garage. His termination letter included a note that would follow him. Not eligible for rehire. Permanent notation for discriminatory conduct. The banking industry network was small. Word traveled fast. Karen Price received a different message. Suspension pending investigation. Ms. Price, you have 48 hours to provide a written explanation for your role in today's incident. Legal counsel is recommended. Technology revolution. By 7:00 p.m., Chief Information Officer Lisa Park's team had begun implementing the Respect Alert system across all 847 Illinois branches. The technology was sophisticated. AI-powered voice recognition that flagged discriminatory language in real time. Facial recognition software that monitored staff body language for signs of bias. customer interaction scoring that evaluated each transaction for fairness indicators. Every teller station now has automatic escalation protocols, Park explained to the press. Discriminatory language triggers immediate supervisor notification. Bias incidents are recorded and reviewed within 1 hour. The system integrated with existing security cameras, creating a comprehensive monitoring network that would have detected today's incident within minutes. Training overhaul. Wednesday morning brought unprecedented change to First National's corporate culture. The parking lot at the training center in Oak Brook filled with employees from every branch across Illinois. The partnership with the Chicago Urban League produced a 40-hour certification program that replaced the bank's previous 4-hour online module. This isn't sensitivity training, explained NAACP Education Director Dr. Angela Washington. This is bias interruption training. Participants learn to recognize implicit bias, interrupt discriminatory thinking, and implement inclusive customer service. The curriculum included role-playing scenarios with diverse actors, quarterly assessments that affected performance reviews, and monthly workshops with real customer feedback. Ashley Martinez, the 22-year-old junior teller who'd watched the discrimination unfold, found herself promoted to assistant manager with a 40% salary increase. "I want to be part of the solution," she told the Tribune. "Today showed me what kind of manager I never want to become." Community investment. The $2 million donation to the Chicago Urban League unlocked opportunities beyond banking. Executive Director Michael Harrison announced expansion of financial literacy programs into 15 Southside neighborhoods. Dr. Carter's experience catalyzed resources that will benefit thousands of families, Harrison said at the press conference. Crisis became opportunity. The Community Advisory Board met for the first time on Friday. 12 members representing diverse Chicago neighborhoods would review bias reports, evaluate policy changes, and ensure accountability. Maria Gonzalez, a West Side small business owner, joined as chairperson. Banks serve communities. Communities deserve a voice in how they're served. Policy revolution. The Customer Bill of Rights was printed in English and Spanish, posted prominently in every branch. Every customer deserves respectful treatment regardless of appearance. Financial transactions will be processed based on documentation, not assumptions. Discrimination complaints receive immediate investigation and response. Anonymous reporting protects customers and employees. Monthly audits ensure policy compliance. The anonymous reporting system launched Friday at 8 a.m. By noon, it had received 47 reports from customers across Illinois, detailing bias incidents that predated the viral live stream. Each report triggered investigation protocols that hadn't existed 72 hours earlier. Marcus Williams's promotion. The security guard who'd been caught between duty and conscience found himself elevated to branch security chief with a $25,000 salary increase and expanded responsibilities. Marcus Williams exemplified integrity under pressure, CEO Marcus Carter III announced. He followed orders while maintaining dignity. That's leadership. Williams's new role included bias incident response training for security personnel across all branches. His first training session focused on de-escalation techniques and cultural competency. 20 years on this job taught me that people deserve dignity, Williams told his trainees. Position of authority means protecting that dignity, not crushing it. Media coverage evolution. The story evolved from viral social media content to case study in corporate transformation. Harvard Business Review commissioned an analysis. The Wall Street Journal ran a front-page feature. Time magazine considered Dr. Carter for their Person of Impact series. But the most powerful coverage came from local community newspapers. The Austin Weekly, the Chicago Defender, and La Raza featured stories about neighborhood residents who'd experienced similar discrimination for years. Finally, someone with power experienced what we live daily, wrote columnist Patricia Williams in The Defender. The difference is Dr. Carter had the leverage to demand change. Financial literacy expansion. The Community Investment Fund supported programs beyond traditional banking. Financial literacy workshops launched in underserved neighborhoods, teaching mortgage preparation, small business financing, and generational wealth building. Rosa Maldonado, the 5-year-old who'd recognized Dr. Carter as someone who helps sick kids, became an unofficial program mascot. Her father enrolled in small business financing workshops, using education benefits his family had never known existed. Independent auditing. The first monthly audit report from the National Civil Rights Advocacy Group revealed systemic issues beyond individual bias. Branch locations in predominantly minority neighborhoods had fewer services, longer wait times, and less qualified staff. Dr. Carter's incident illuminated broader patterns, reported lead auditor Dr. James Brooks. Systematic exclusion disguised as business policy. The audit triggered immediate corrective measures, staff increases in underserved branches, expanded service offerings, and community outreach programs. Ripple effects. 12 major banking institutions across the country requested information about First National's transformation protocols. The American Banking Association invited Dr. Carter to speak at their annual conference. Congressional hearings were scheduled to examine discriminatory practices in financial services. Senator Tammy Duckworth's office requested detailed reports on the bank's reform implementation. Recognition and awards. The Chicago mayor presented Dr. Carter with the key to the city during a ceremony at City Hall. Dr. Carter transformed personal adversity into community advancement, Mayor Brandon Johnson declared. The Federal Reserve invited her to join their Community Development Advisory Council. Harvard Kennedy School offered a fellowship to study bias in financial services. But the recognition that mattered most came from an unexpected source. A handwritten note from Rosa Maldonado, the 5-year-old from the bank lobby. Dear Dr. Carter, thank you for helping my daddy learn about money and helping sick kids like me. You're a superhero. 3 months later. The transformation metrics exceeded expectations. Bias incidents down 89% across all branches. Customer satisfaction scores up 34% in minority communities. Minority account openings increased 156%. Employee diversity improved 67%. Community investment doubled. But the most important change couldn't be measured in percentages. Dignity had been restored. Justice had been served. And systematic change had begun. Dr. Evelyn Carter returned to Chicago Children's Hospital, continuing her work saving young lives. But every evening, she checked the bias incident reports from First National Bank. Not because she had to, because she could. And because 847 branches across Illinois were now a little more just than they'd been before 6 months later. Chicago Children's Hospital. Dr. Evelyn Carter stood in operating room 7, her hands steady as she repaired a 2-year-old's heart defect. The same calm that had sustained her through marble lobby humiliation now guided microsurgical precision. Outside the OR, her phone buzzed with notifications she'd read later. Updates from First National's quarterly diversity report. Interview requests from Harvard Business Review. Speaking invitations from banking conferences across the nation. But right now, only one thing mattered. The tiny heart beating under her skilled hands. Procedure complete, she announced to her surgical team. Another life saved. The parallel wasn't lost on anyone in the room. Legacy in numbers. The transformation data painted a picture of systematic change. First National Bank Illinois bias incidents, down 91% from pre-incident levels. Customer satisfaction in minority communities, up 42%. Branch employee diversity, 73% improvement across management positions. New account openings in underserved neighborhoods, increased 203%. Small business loans to minority-owned enterprises, up 156%. Community Investment Fund impact, $8.7 million distributed. 2,347 families benefited. But numbers only told part of the story. Ashley Martinez, promoted from junior teller to branch manager at age 23, led diversity training sessions across the Midwest. Dr. Carter showed us that dignity isn't negotiable, she told audiences. Position doesn't grant permission to diminish others. Marcus Williams expanded bias prevention training to 12 banking institutions. His security protocols became industry standard, protecting customers while empowering employees to intervene. Ripple effects. Across America, congressional hearings led to the Financial Services Equality Act, bipartisan legislation requiring bias training and transparency reporting across all federally insured institutions. 17 major banks implemented similar monitoring systems. The Carter Protocols became shorthand for comprehensive discrimination prevention in financial services. Zoe Martinez, whose live stream had catalyzed change, enrolled at Northwestern University's Medill School of Journalism. Her documentary, Banking While Black, A Mother's Courage, won Student Emmy Awards and sparked campus conversations about economic justice. Dr. Carter taught me that bearing witness means demanding accountability, Zoe reflected during her TEDx talk. Sometimes the most powerful action is refusing to look away. Mother and son. The relationship between Dr. Carter and CEO Marcus Carter III deepened through shared purpose. Monthly mother-son dinners became strategy sessions for expanding diversity initiatives. You taught me that leadership means protecting the vulnerable, Marcus III said during the bank's annual shareholder meeting. Profit without principle is just organized theft. Under his leadership, First National became the first major bank to achieve B Corporation certification, balancing profit with social responsibility. Stock prices rose 34% as socially conscious investors rewarded authentic change. Personal growth and recognition. Dr. Carter's calendar filled with speaking engagements, but she remained selective. Harvard Kennedy School Fellowship, congressional testimony on banking discrimination, keynote at the National Medical Association's annual conference. Each platform amplified the same message. Systematic change requires strategic patience and unwavering principle. The Chicago mayor honored her with the city's highest civilian award. The NAACP presented their Chairman's Award. Time magazine named her among the 100 most influential people. But the recognition that moved her most came in a handwritten letter from Rosa Maldonado, now 6 years old and in first grade. Dear Dr. Carter, I'm learning to read big words like justice and courage. My teacher says you showed both. Thank you for helping my daddy's business and for helping sick kids like I was. Love, Rosa. Foundation launch. The Carter Family Foundation launched with a $50 million endowment, focusing on healthcare access and economic justice. The foundation's first initiative, medical scholarships for students from underserved communities. Excellence should be accessible regardless of zip code, Dr. Carter announced at the foundation's inaugural gala. Every child deserves the opportunity to heal others. Applications flooded in from across the country. First-generation college students, inner-city youth interested in medicine. Rural students lack resources but not ambition. The foundation would graduate its first class of doctors in 2031, continuing impact. Today, Dr. Carter splits time between surgery and social justice. She serves on the Federal Reserve's Community Development Advisory Council, reviews bias incident reports from 847 bank branches, and mentors young professionals navigating discrimination. Her office at Chicago Children's Hospital displays 2 items side by side, her medical degree from Harvard and the torn check pieces from that March afternoon, framed as a reminder that dignity is always worth defending. Call to action. Change doesn't happen in boardrooms or courtrooms. It happens when ordinary people refuse to accept injustice as normal. Dr. Carter's story proves that strategic patience, quiet strength, and unwavering principles can topple systems built on assumptions and bias. But her story is just one story. Yours matters too. Have you witnessed discrimination in places where you least expected it? Have you experienced bias that made you question your worth? Have you found the courage to transform humiliation into systematic change? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience matters. Your voice creates change. Your courage inspires others to stand up when it would be easier to stay silent. Subscribe to Black Tales Stories for more inspiring transformations that prove justice isn't just possible. It's inevitable when good people refuse to look away. Hit the share button. Send this to someone who needs to remember that their dignity is non-negotiable. Together, we don't just tell stories of change, we become the change. One story, one voice, one act of courage at a time. Remember, your worth isn't determined by others' perceptions. Stay calm, stay strategic, and let your actions speak louder than their ignorance. The next chapter of justice begins with you.